They gave me 48 hours to pack my life into boxes and leave my own home. My mom didn't even blink when she said it, and my dad stood there nodding like I was some stranger trespassing. Then came the final blow. "Your sister controls that house now, Atticus. You're done here." My stomach dropped, but I kept my face cold. They thought they had stripped me of everything. But what they didn't know was that I had been building something far bigger, something that would make their so-called decision blow up in their faces. If you're watching this right now, don't scroll. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share, because what happens next is pure revenge, and you don't want to miss a second of it. I looked at my sister, Jenna, who was grinning like she had just won the lottery. "Finally," she whispered loud enough for me to hear, "the golden boy gets tossed out." My dad chuckled. "Atticus, this house was never yours. Jenna deserves it. She's the responsible one. You? You've always been a disappointment." Their words were sharp, but I didn't flinch. I had learned long ago to stay quiet, to let them underestimate me. What they didn't know was that I had been playing a long game, and the board was about to flip. When I asked, "So, where exactly am I supposed to go in 48 hours?" My mom smirked. "Figure it out. Maybe one of your little jobs will finally pay off." That line burned, because they still thought I was broke, stuck, and begging for scraps. The truth? I had built an empire right under their noses, hidden in plain sight, but I stayed silent. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge is letting people bury you with their own words, before you rise from the dirt higher than they can ever reach. And just when I thought the humiliation couldn't cut deeper, Jenna leaned closer and whispered, "Oh, don't worry, Atticus. Maybe I'll rent you a room here one day, if you can afford it." She didn't know that soon. She wouldn't own a single lock in this house. I walked out of that living room with their laughter echoing behind me, but inside my chest was fire. They thought they were tossing me out like trash, but every word they said only fueled me more. That night, I sat in my room, staring at the walls that had witnessed years of betrayal, years of being called lazy, useless, and the failed son. I remembered the nights I worked in silence, coding until dawn, sending out pitch decks while everyone else slept, and the endless sacrifices I made while they called me a fool. They thought I was broke, but in reality, I was sitting on contracts worth millions. The house they were so proud to hand to Jenna? In less than 2 weeks, it wouldn't even matter who signed the deed. The next morning, Jenna came banging on my door, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Tick-tock, Atticus. You've got 47 hours left. Don't make me call the movers for you." I opened the door, looked straight into her smug little smile, and said nothing. Silence is deadly, and mine made her squirm. Later that day, I packed just enough clothes to make it look like I was leaving in defeat. My parents watched with arms crossed, whispering about how maybe this will finally teach him responsibility. My dad even laughed and said, "You'll thank us one day, son." This is tough love. Tough love? No. This was pure betrayal disguised as parenting. And the worst part, they truly believed I was powerless. That night, I drove out to the city, to a building they had no idea existed. My building, 20 floors of glass and steel, with my name carved into the lobby wall, Carter Innovations. I walked through those doors like I belonged, because I did. My employees looked up, nodding with respect. Here, I wasn't the failure son. I was the founder, the CEO, the man who had turned sleepless nights into an empire. Still, I wasn't ready to reveal my cards just yet. I wanted them to feel comfortable, safe in their lies, before pulling the ground out from under their feet. But fate had other plans, because that very night I got an email that made my revenge 10 times sweeter. It was an invitation. A family gathering. Jenna had planned a celebration dinner for taking over the house, and my parents were all in on it. A dinner where they would publicly thank her for being the child they could count on. A dinner where they would mock me, again, for being the disappointment. Perfect. Because if they wanted a stage to humiliate me on, I was about to turn it into my stage of destruction. I leaned back in my office chair, smirked, and whispered to myself, "You've just invited the wrong man to dinner." The restaurant Jenna picked for her celebration was one of the fanciest in town, The type of place you needed a reservation months in advance. She walked in like a queen, my parents on either side of her, glowing with pride as if she had conquered the world. And me? I slipped in quietly, dressed in a plain black suit. No flashy watch, no show of wealth. I wanted them to think I was still the same powerless Atticus they had mocked days before. As soon as I sat down, Jenna smirked. "Glad you could make it, Atticus. Thought you'd be too busy packing boxes." My dad chuckled, raising his glass. "To Jenna, the new head of the house. Finally, one child we can be proud of." Laughter followed, sharp and humiliating, but I didn't flinch. I just smiled, which only confused them more. The waiter came over, offering menus, and Jenna wasted no time leaning across the table. "Don't worry, Atticus. I'll cover your meal. I know things must be tight for you right now," my mom added with fake pity. "Yes, darling. Maybe one day you'll learn to manage money like your sister." That's when the first twist came. The manager of the restaurant suddenly walked over, straight to me. "Mr. Carter, it's an honor having you here tonight. Your usual private suite is ready whenever you'd like." Every head at the table snapped toward me. Jenna blinked. "Wait, he called you Mr. Carter?" My dad frowned, confused. "What, usual suite?" I leaned back, calm, letting the silence burn them. "Oh, it's nothing," I said casually. "I just come here often for business dinners. This restaurant is one of my company's biggest clients." Their eyes widened, but I quickly changed the subject before they could push further. I wanted them to squirm in curiosity. The dinner went on with more of their little jabs about how I'd be couch hopping soon, and how Jenna might let me mow the lawn for a little cash. Each insult fueled me, but I kept my composure, because I knew what was coming. At the end of the meal, Jenna waved her hand dramatically when the bill arrived. "Don't worry, Dad, Mom, I'll cover it. Atticus can't afford this place anyway." She handed over her card with a smug grin, until the waiter returned nervous. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Your card's declined." The table froze. My parents stared at her, shocked. Jenna's face turned crimson. "Try it again," she snapped. The waiter shook his head. We tried twice. Before the silence could crush her, I calmly placed my own card on the tray. The manager himself rushed back, bowing slightly. "As always, Mr. Carter, it's been handled. No charge tonight. Your account covers everything." The look on Jenna's face was priceless. My parents stared at me like they had just seen a ghost. I smiled softly and said, "You know, sometimes the person you think is at the bottom is actually the one holding the entire table up." And that was just the beginning. The silence at that table was louder than any insult they had ever thrown at me. My mom shifted uncomfortably. My dad cleared his throat, and Jenna forced a laugh that sounded more like a choke. "So what?" she said, her voice shaking. "You got lucky, Atticus. Maybe you saved a little money from those odd jobs. Don't think you can impress us with one free meal." I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table, my eyes locked on hers. "Odd jobs? Is that what you think I've been doing all these years?" My lips curled into the faintest smile. "Jenna, I own this restaurant. In fact, I own the entire chain." Their forks froze in midair. My dad's face turned pale. That's impossible. You can't even hold down a regular job." I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and slid it across the table. On the display was the headline from Forbes: "Meet Atticus Carter, the tech visionary behind Carter Innovations, now valued at $400 million. My mom covered her mouth, whispering, "No, this can't be real." Jenna snatched the phone, her hands trembling, scanning the article like her eyes were lying to her. "Still think I'm the family failure?" I asked, my voice calm but razor sharp. "While you were busy mocking me, I was building an empire that employs over 600 people. The contracts I sign in a week are worth more than this entire house you're fighting over." The table was dead quiet, but I wasn't done. I leaned back, watching their faces crumble. "And about that house." I pulled out a folder from my jacket pocket and tossed it onto the table. My dad picked it up with shaky hands, flipping through the papers. His face turned crimson as he read the last page. I spoke slowly, savoring every word. "The mortgage you've been hiding from Jenna? Paid off, by me, which means the deed no longer belongs to her, or to either of you. It's in my name now." Jenna's chair screeched as she shot up. "You're lying," she shouted, her voice breaking. "This house is mine. Dad and Mom promised." I cut her off. "No, Jenna, it was never yours. The bank didn't care about promises, only about payment. And while you were busy laughing at me, I signed the check that made your name meaningless." My dad slammed the folder shut, his voice trembling. You tricked us." I stood up, buttoned my jacket, and looked them all dead in the eye. "No, I let you trick yourselves. You wanted me to be the failure? Fine. But tonight you'll remember that the son you threw out is the one who owns everything you thought was yours." And then, for the first time in years, I walked out of that restaurant, not as the black sheep, but as the wolf they never saw coming. But my revenge wasn't finished yet. The next morning, I didn't even wait for them to call. I showed up at the house they had given to Jenna. She opened the door with puffy eyes, her pride already broken. My parents stood behind her, silent, unsure of what to say. I pulled the deed out of my jacket and held it up. 48 hours, remember? Only this time, it's not me who's leaving. Their faces dropped as I handed them an official notice. "You have until tomorrow to vacate. The house isn't yours anymore. It's mine," Jenna's voice cracked. "You can't do this, Atticus. We're family," I gave a cold smile. "Family doesn't throw their own blood into the street." "You taught me that." Neighbors peeked from across the street as my parents begged, their voices trembling. But I didn't bend, not this time. I walked away, my steps steady, their world collapsing behind me. For years, they called me the disappointment. Now, I was the one holding the keys. Not just to the house, but to the future they tried to steal from me. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.